Guys, I want to talk about the latest in what's going on with the European gas crisis and the natural gas situation in Germany. There seems to be a lot of bad news for Germans, but there's actually some good news I'm going to talk about. Now, everybody knows if the German economy falls, the rest of Europe's economy will fall also. And so Germany is trying to ration their natural gas because of the Nord Stream 1 pipeline and now the explosion. So the pipeline was stopped in September because Russia said that the turbines were not returned by Siemens, and then they found a small gas leak. Well, that gas leak was nothing compared to the gas leak after the sabotage on Nord Stream 1 and 2, which shut them down indefinitely. So, as they head into winter, the German industry and Germany households are paying much higher rates for gas and electricity, and some industries are no longer competitive because of the energy costs. And so, even many Germans themselves may not be able to heat their homes this winter. It is a really tough situation for a lot of people. And so, the Wall Street Journal is saying German production falls as higher energy prices hit manufacturing, and factory output fell in August, driven by cutbacks in energy intensive industries as costs surge following reductions in the supply of natural gas from Russia. And here they say Germany natural gas consumption is too high to avoid energy emergency. So we will hardly be able to avoid gas emergency in winter without at least 20% savings in private, commercial, and industrial sectors. And the IMF is saying that Germany and Italy will slip into recession in 2023. And that's because both countries are viewed as the G7 economies that are most exposed to gas supply cuts from Russia. So this article is saying what Germany is going to do about that, and they say that they recently unveiled a 200 billion fund to shield consumers and businesses from surging prices, which includes a cap on energy costs. All this will do is make people use more energy. It does nothing to reduce the price that Germans are paying for their energy. So the problem does not go away by giving consumers money from German taxpayers. It's just adding to their debt. It doesn't change the fundamental problem. And with friends like these, who needs enemies? German minister criticizes US over astronomical natural gas prices. So the economy minister has accused the US and other so-called friendly gas supplier states of astronomical prices for their supplies. He suggested some gas suppliers were profiting from the fallout from the war in Ukraine, which has sent global energy prices soaring. He says the United States contacted us when oil supplies shot up and the national oil reserves in Europe were tapped as a result. I think such solidarity would also be good for curbing prices. CNBC contacted the White House for a response to the comments and is awaiting a reply. You're probably going to keep waiting. But what about that Baltic pipeline to Poland that they just put online the day before the Nord Stream sabotage? Well, here they say Baltic pipe won't increase Norway's gas exports in maxed out system. So Norway's gas pipelines to Europe are operating at full capacity, and the addition of a new pipe to Poland later this year will not automatically lead to an increase in exports. Norway in 2021 exported 130 BCMs, billion cubic meters of natural gas via the pipelines to the EU, and they project a slight increase to 115 BCMs this year. So that Polish pipeline that they touted as having 10 BCMs per year is probably only going to really get them 2 BCMs per year, because the other 113 BCMs are probably already spoken for with the original customers. This new pipeline is just an offshoot of one of the pipelines. So the most that they can possibly get, they're saying, is like 2 BCMs per year. As a comparison, Nord Stream 1 can ship 55 BCMs per year, and Nord Stream 2 the same. So together, they can ship 110 BCMs a year, or 11 times bigger than that Polish pipeline. And the two pipelines together at 110 BCMs is 55 times greater than what Poland is probably getting in gas through that pipeline this year. So not only is LNG exports way more expensive for Europe or anybody compared to pipeline gas, because they have to freeze it and compress it 600 times and send it on a ship and pay for that ship. Now the LNG rates are skyrocketing because there's a limited amount of LNG ships in the world, about 700 of them. And because Europe doesn't have a lot of storage because they were expecting to just pipe gas in all the time, they are now using these LNG loaded ships as nearby storage facilities. And so as much as 70% of all U.S. natural gas exports were sent to Europe in September, up from 63% in August. But the cost to charter an LNG ship across the Atlantic rose to $397,000 per day. This is an increase from 21 shipping rates of $91,000 per day. So there's not enough ships to replace the Russian gas from the pipeline. And on top of that, the cost of LNG gas to Europe is way more expensive than they were paying for pipeline gas. So with all this bad news, what is the potential good news for Germany? Well, that good news actually comes from Putin and Russia. You see, the Nord Stream pipelines, each pipeline is really two pipes together. And so Nord Stream 1 is two pipes and Nord Stream 2 is two separate pipes. So each of them are 27.5 BCMs, billion cubic meters. Now, apparently, both Nord Stream 1s are out of commission. They can be fixed, but it will take a while, and they're not going to fix them unless Germany agrees to buy gas from Russia again. But as for the Nord Stream 2, it also has two pipelines, 27.5 BCMs each, and apparently only one of them were damaged with this sabotage. The other one did not get damaged and is good to go and can start pumping gas right now. So here they say Putin offers gas through Nord Stream 2, but Germany declines. He offered to resume gas supplies through parts of the pipeline that weren't damaged by explosions last month, and he also suggested an alternative through Turkey. So he said, I'll resume the gas pipelines through Nord Stream 2. However, Nord Stream 2 was never certified by Germany, and they stopped the certification after the Russian invasion. So this thing has never actually delivered any gas to Germany yet. And so he says the ball is in the EU's court. If they want to, then the taps can be turned on, and that's it. Germany, however, said it would not take Russian gas via the Nord Stream 2 pipeline that has become a flashpoint in the Ukraine crisis. And asked if Berlin would rule out the use of Nord Stream 2, German government spokeswoman Christine Hoffmann said yes. So basically, she's going to speak for all of the German companies and all of the German people that potentially could freeze this winter just so they don't turn on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. And she says, independent of the possible sabotage of the two pipelines, we have seen that Russia is no longer a reliable energy supplier, and that even before the damage to Nord Stream 1, there was no longer any gas flowing. So did you get that little dig here? Again, trying to say that Russia sabotaged their own pipelines. And speaking of sabotaging pipelines, so today Russia said they foiled an attack on the Turk Stream pipeline and the saboteurs were arrested. The Turk Stream pipeline goes through Turkey and started in around 2020 and has 31.5 BCM capacity per year. So both of these lines are 15.75 billion each, and together they are less than even one Nord Stream pipeline. And that wasn't the only sabotage. On September 22nd, Russia said they foiled a Ukrainian plot to sabotage an energy link. Ukrainian agent tried to sabotage infrastructure in Russia involved in exporting energy to Turkey and Europe. And the would-be saboteur was acting on orders from Kiev, the statement claims. And here they have apparently video of the guy actually doing it. And as for the Nord Stream sabotage, where people are trying to imply that Russia had something to do with it, well, what about this? Underwater drone with explosives spotted near Baltic Nord Stream pipeline. An unmanned military underwater vehicle rigged with explosives was spotted on the seabed in the vicinity of the Nord Stream gas pipeline in the Baltics, Swedish media reported. The abandoned, expendable, remotely operated mine clearance underwater vehicle, allegedly with explosives on board, had been detected in multinational waters of the Baltic Sea by the Swedish Navy. And this is where it was, and this is where Nord Stream had their sabotage around here. And so these remote operated vehicles are typically used to disarm big unremovable munitions found on the seabed, as the drone is blown up along with the dangerous object. But they said they don't consider it dangerous to merchant vessels or pipeline at this point because the cable that was used to control the drone and set off the explosive was cut off. So whoever was controlling it, the cable that they used to control it somehow got cut, and they, I guess, abandoned their attempt to blow up this pipeline. Now, how come you didn't hear about this in the news? That's because this happened in November of 2015, 3 years approximately after the Nord Stream 1 was first built and put into service. So this is not the first time they tried to sabotage the Nord Stream pipeline. And Putin even said it was possible to repair the pipelines, but that Russia and Europe should decide their fate. And so the head of Gazprom said repairs to the damaged Nord Stream pipelines would take at least a year. And he said there was no guarantee that Europe would survive the winter based on its current gas storage capacity. But Germany's gas storage facilities are 95% full, which really means nothing because those facilities are only 24 BCMs and they can't fully discharge it. They have to keep it about 25% full because of the type of storage that it's in. So even if they were to use the full 24 BCMs during the winter, they use about more than 55 BCMs. So this doesn't mean much. Just like if I had a 5-gallon gas can that was 95% full, but I needed 20 gallons to get to where I'm going. But officials say the country is well placed to get through the winter, though efforts to save gas will be necessary. So maybe they can get through this winter if they ration it, but it doesn't stop the problem of rebuying at high spot rates to fill up the storage and to continue using gas during the year. And Putin also proposed the creation of an energy hub in Turkey. We could move the lost volumes from the Nord Streams along the bottom of the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea region, and thus make the main routes for the supply of our fuel, our natural gas to Europe through Turkey, creating the largest gas hub for Europe in Turkey, he said. And this is what he's talking about, the Turk Stream pipeline from Russia through the Black Sea into Turkey, and then it could match up with these other pipelines over here. So they could reroute the gas that was going to Nord Stream and route it through here, although the capacity is much less than the Nord Stream pipelines. So guys, what do you think? Should Germany cut off its nose to spite its face and not open that Nord Stream 2 pipeline just so that they don't get influenced by Russia to reduce or remove sanctions and not send arms to Ukraine and maybe split with the US on this whole sanction thing? Or should they suck it up for the winter and try to reduce their energy and pay higher spot gas prices from their good friends like America with their very expensive LNG and not enough supply? Now, right before the Nord Stream sabotage, there were a lot of protests in Lubmin, Germany, and Austria and other places saying to turn on the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. So I believe now that it is a possibility, those people may come back out and start getting louder the colder it gets in Germany. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys.